Welcome back to another episode of Unranked Podcast. Got Grant here, also with Elijah. What we're going to do this week is jump into a little bit of the conference finals. We've had, I think, 3 games on each side played, so we'll just touch on that a little bit, and then we'll also touch on some of the research we've been doing around the mock draft or the NBA draft, and then also start to jump into some of the free agency and just talk about some of the players that you know I feel like would be ideal that would fit in that Pistons system. So yeah, well, I'll go ahead and jump to the Eastern Conference. Got a game tonight. Game 4, Heat are leading 2-1. I'll toss to you, Eli, just kind of based on what you've seen. I feel like every game to this point's been somewhat of a blowout. And this is probably the most important game of the series, in my opinion, tonight. So what do you kind of see happen? How do you see things unfolding just with so much that's on the line for Boston, and being down 2-1?
Yeah, so once again, the Heat come out and surprise me. The game over the weekend, I kind of thought that would be one that Boston should have came out and stole uh, when Butler went down. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I guess it's just the experience. Once again, is kind of the tell both ends on both sides of what the Western Conference Finals as well. So I just think the experience, them being there before, the coach being there before, just kind of overall it's just a a slow moving process for them as far as just um, they're not fancy, not doing anything crazy. They're just coached well, play tremendous defense. So
Yeah.
I ultimately I do see them pulling out, which I'm shocked. I did not have the Heat. I don't think I had them coming out of the second round.
Yeah.
Tip my hat to them. Pretty exciting. I think obviously Tatum has something to say about that. I do think he'll put together some sort of
Yeah.
defense to that. He's known to drop 40 on you and surprise you. So
Yep.
you might have another one of them in him and stretch the series out a little bit. But I think ultimately they're just going to pull it out. It's been tough.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, like I said, I mean, we talked back before the season started, always kind of, Miami, they always kind of find a way to be relevant. I think the most impressive thing about them is even like, dating when after Brown left. I think they had like a bad year or two, and then Riley was just kind of like, all right, like we got to just kind of get this figured out, and they've been in the mix in some form or fashion. So I'd say probably about 2016, 2017. Making some noise here and there in the playoffs, not always getting, obviously to the finals and such, but they definitely, do what they need to do as far as just keeping that organization, that team intact, and do whatever they need to do in order to keep them being successful. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said prior, you would think this is going to be pretty much do or die for Boston. I mean, they're in a tough spot now. They lost their first, they came in home court, had home court advantage, lost home court advantage again. Um, and this is one of them, situations where they could, easily be flirted with the idea of not coming back to Boston, after, depending on how this game goes. So, yeah, I think Jason Tatum had like 10 points, like 3 or 14 from the field or something like that last game. Definitely don't see that happening. The one thing that I do say that they have kind of going against him is, I mean, I saw he got banged up a little bit. Obviously something you can play through, but they say it was kind of a nerve issue, so you never know how that could affect shooting. And then Marcus Smart, I mean, we watched his ankle bone touch the ground, and he literally came back in, gutted it out. But we all know what happens with sprained ankles after you wake up that next day. I'd be shocked if he could even walk, even get out of bed like comfortably after seeing how bad he rolled his ankle.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You over a couple of days.
yeah. Even on the Miami side, I mean, they got, Kyle Lowry out there pretty much on one leg, PJ Tucker, fighting through a knee injury. Jimmy Butler I thought I looked up and he was just out of the game, like just out of nowhere. And still was shocked to see that they were able to kind of hold off the Celtics and still get that W. Um, but yeah, I think tonight, if I had to kind of choose, who was going to pull it out, I'd have to just go with Boston. I think that just makes sense. It's kind of how the series has went. It's went back and forth. The first 3 games, and I just can't see them like they're going to be fighting like hell to make sure that they, tie this series up before heading back to Miami for Game 5.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's gonna be tough. I guess I kind of forgot about the Marcus Smart situation. And like I said, it'd be tough. It'd be hard to imagine him going to go out there and
like worth
yeah,
like like playing. Yeah,
yeah, right, and be that productive. I mean, it's an ankle, so something you can tough out, but at the end of the day, it does something that it completely inhibits your ability to do practically anything. So,
right.
yeah, it's gonna be tough for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just kind of shift gears to the Western Conference. This series is the exact opposite of what we're looking at now. Going into Game 4 for Miami and Boston. We got the Mavericks. They're going to be fighting. For their playoff lives. To just be able to get another game in the hopes of extending the series any longer. We already pretty much know the statistics. Going down 3-0. I don't think anybody's ever done it in the NBA.
I
Um,
think it was. I think last night. I think it said 146 and 0.
yeah, yeah, so something miraculous would have to happen, for them to be able to even make this a series. But I think this is going to be pretty much done tomorrow. It was kind of cool, seeing the Mavericks make a little run that they did. Luka started to come more into his own. We already knew who he was, but I think he really I think I look at him as probably like top five in the league, top five, top eight, however you want to play it. Coming into next season, MVP candidate. Definitely going to be all NBA type guy for the coming years. But it'd be interesting to see what they do with that roster because I was looking at the stat sheet and I think they had like three guys that played 25 or more minutes that didn't score a point. They had a starter that's played 38 minutes, Reggie Bullock. He went 0 for 10, 0 for 7 from three. They just had some guys that were just very timid in shooting the ball. And yeah, I mean, it was Luka with 40, Brunson with 20, and Dinwiddie with like 26. They only scored 100. So definitely need to figure out how to, find him a little more support. But yeah, I mean, I think they pretty much kind of reached their ceiling for these playoffs for sure.
Yeah. So, just real quick, you anticipating a sweep?
I am anticipating the sweep. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I I wouldn't be shocked if they came out and stole one. Like remember last series when Golden State just got the brakes beat off of them and went back home.
yeah,
I wouldn't be completely shocked if maybe that happened, but I don't see it becoming a series, obviously. But I yeah, I would say obviously Luca legend is because that's it's fun to say, and he is a phenomenal player. And it's interesting to watch him play when you really analyze it because I feel like he really tries in spurts, and
yep.
other times he just disappears. Where
Hmm.
it's like last night at one point I was like, man, he hasn't did shit in a minute. And
Yeah,
then he dunked, and then they're like, oh, that's his 21st point. I was like, 21 points,
yeah,
like where? And
yeah,
I would easily thought he had like 11. So it was kind of so he's one of them guys that just sneakily gets baskets, but I do also think he heats up, and then he might tend to just disappear, completely remove himself. It seems like for a while.
right.
Uh, so I do think that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, he could just be getting frustrated when you keep passing out to Reggie Bullock and he's clanking them, or passing to Cleveland and he's scared to pull it,
Yeah,
or whatever the case may be. But I think it is. I don't know. His game is just interesting to watch.
yeah. It's
So
slow. It's like slow motion. Like I feel like you just can't be rushed. Like,
mhm.
and I don't know to kind of even to your point of like how it kind of comes in spurts. I think what they're kind of fighting with right now with him is like they want to just like a lot of times he wants to just kind of come up court and just kind of dribble the ball until there's like 8 seconds left, and then make like either go to the cup and draw a foul or make a layup, or he'll just kind of kick it out last second to the corner for an open three. I think they'd be trying to like put the ball in like Brunson's hands or like Dinwiddie's hands and kind of like have him kind of push the pace a little bit and just not have him just up there just like staring at people,
Yeah,
to kind of do whatever. And it gets tough too. Like I said last night, they had like two, three guys that were non-existent, to where it was just like it wasn't even an option to even be looking at anybody else because they'd already kind of shot themselves out of being a factor at all. But yeah, I think to even kind of slowly shift gears here. Just want to throw a question at you. I mean, you think on the top of the head, and not put you on the spot, but like what do you think like they need to kind of go to that next hit, make that next jump to maybe be a finals team next year or just like be back in the conference finals?
yeah. I would say um a legitimate number two to lose. Like obviously they got like Brunson is is on the verge of that, or like I'm just throwing random people out there, but like you always talk about Buddy Hill or somebody
Yeah.
along those lines where um he would play into the game, like you said, if Luka just stands around for 16 seconds and then passes to you with point one left,
Yep.
can you make something with it? And so you have to get players that are real catch and shoot.
Hmm.
And also, I think just on a defensive note, Luka's proven he's not going to play a lick of defense and don't want to. So you have to go out there and get you an enforcer, a
Yeah.
PJ Tucker, or somebody like that
Real
where
slim.
yeah, right, right,
Yeah.
where you can kind of take that off of his shoulders and because I think that, or just a big rim protector in general.
Yeah.
I think they're all pretty. I don't want to say soft, but in general, they're all let's say finesse players. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think like what I was looking at as far as who they need, um, definitely like a rim protector. Like right now, they got some 6'7" guy that plays like 8 minutes a game, and literally that's it. Like he's like a starter, comes in, gets like 2 fouls, and they pull him, and that's pretty much the last time you see him. So I think they definitely like. I mean, they might want to give Phoenix a call. Pair the number one and the number four pick in the draft together. I think that'd be a good little fit just with the pick and roll. And then also, um, yeah, like you said, just more depth, just like more shooting. Like they got guys now. I mean, they obviously they got to where they got to for a reason. They were hot, first round, second round, and for some odd reason, last couple of nights, I mean, I think the first quarter they literally missed like 20, 25 threes, and just really had a hard time like getting getting it going. I was surprised the game even stayed as close as it did, just because of how bad they were shooting. But yeah, like I said, I feel like Steph. I mean, last night, like the last couple of games, you really started to see the Steph of old. He was struggling this season. The last couple of nights, he'd been like just, really, really trying to put people away. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Luka, because it's interesting. You got, look at a lot of teams in the playoffs. They all got at least another superstar, and they really the only team, then maybe a couple others that is just him. And it's kind of like a lot of just like super solid, like above average role players that played their role well up to this point. So we'll see what Mark Cuban got up his sleeve, come free agency. So yeah,
you got the main piece there, so that's the
yeah,
that's what everybody's fighting for. So
right. Yep, you got the all around the guy, MVP candidate, do it all star. So, but yeah, speaking of free agency, we can go ahead and we'll shift gears here and throw it to you, Eli. We know we're gonna pick in the draft at number 5 for the Pistons. Um, you know, I know you've done some research as far as who you think should get there and what that kind of looks like. So I'll just kind of throw it to you to see what you think we should be doing with that pick.
yeah, no. So this is the On Rank Podcast Mock Draft 1.0. We're so, but no, I'll say I'm just gonna rattle them off. And this is honestly what I think after doing a good amount of research over the weekend,
Yeah.
watching tape, just highlight tapes, reading through some stats, seeing what when they played some of the better teams if they stood up to the test. And so number one, I'm going Keegan Murray. A few things about him that I thought were stood out to me is he is the first player since Kevin Durant to have 800 points, at least 800 points, 60 blocks and 60 threes in the same season.
Wow. Yeah.
So that shows a little bit of all around. He's 60 blocks is hovering just under 2 a game.
Hmm.
Uh, and 63s is hovering just under 2 a game as well. 800 points is putting him at 23 a game. So, and that's through the brunt of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So
League
and
that you'd be lucky to have your team have 25 by halftime. So
right, right, yeah. So I mean, if you read through Iowa's games, it's the snapshot shows the leading scorer. He was literally their leading scorer in the 20s every night. And so in order for him to put up 23 a game, that's a lot of games where he's hovering in the low 30s, 31, 32, 33. I was very impressed to see that on there.
yeah.
Uh, and and the next, I'm going Jaden Ivey, also a Big Ten guy. I think thing about him is just explosiveness,
Hmm.
and that paired with Cade, I think is very interesting. So that's the key to that is
Yeah.
what would that look like? Just having a phenomenal backcourt. Some say that might be giving up on Killian Hayes. Others say Killian Hayes looks great off the bench, and so maybe that should be more of his role. And if he flourishes, he's a good trade bait. He's young. I'm not mad at that. That I don't think that'd be stepping on any toes there.
Okay.
Last is a guy I first heard when you mentioned it. That'd be Benedict Mathurin.
Hmm.
Thing about him that really stood out to me was obviously he's freakish athletic. He's a guy that I would have, uh, I didn't really know about him. I watched him a few times in a tournament
Hmm.
as a shout out that you gave,
Yeah.
and but his highlight tape was probably the most impressive. I mean, the thing looks like an and one tape. The dude is,
Yeah.
he has bunnies for real. And another thing about him that stood out to me was if you look at threes made, he has more threes than everybody I just named. He has 88 threes made this season, shooting 37%. So
Yeah.
that was very impressive. I mean, 30 or 88 threes. That means you're at a 37% clip. That's solid. So
Very solid.
that's
Yeah.
that's just over like 2.5 a game.
I
So
think.
that's impressive. So those would be my big three.
Yeah.
And the one thing I'll say, and I'll throw it to you here. The one thing I'll say, Shaden Sharp. I mean, I try to watch some highlight tapes, but I just feel funny watching highlight tapes from some AAU camp, in the suburb of Toronto.
Just don't know.
Yeah, it just seems crazy. When I'm sitting here watching Keegan Murray play Purdue, and it's a two, top five matchup.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. So I just think that's kind of where I'm going with that. And the one thing I would say, so I know I'm talking long on here, but one thing I will say about this is Amani Bates as a local Michigan guy, local Michigan kid, and he was the number 2 high school player to Chet Holmgren. And if I imagine if he wouldn't have played this year, he would be a top 5 projected pick. But because he played, he has to more than likely come back to college, or he has to.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder if we've seen this guy here, would we have blown us away, or would it be we need more to see? How often are the top 5 players in high school always transitioning to the top 5 picks in the draft the next year? Not always. There's not a direct relation to that. So
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good call. And I just think, man, like, I don't know. People might not agree with me. This might be cold take, whatever, hot take, however you look at your takes. But sometimes sliding, man, it's not always a bad thing. Like, I feel like, you know, we know how it works, right? Those top 2, top 3 picks. I think this year they're pretty like put together players and pretty good like all around game and very like established as far as just like what they can do. But I mean, sometimes you are picking top 3 here and there. You can kind of run into a project or somebody not being able to shoot as well, or just like might have like a pretty big hole in their game. And off the top of the head, I don't really know like who Murray's or Matherin's what hole in their games are. At least as of today. But I do know they can score the basketball. They're scoring the basketball at a very high clip in college. To where you look at sometimes the freshmen that end up coming out, they end up being rated a little bit higher. They might not, they might just be more picked up on for their, athleticism or just like as far as just like being like 6'9", 6'10", like wings. I can just do like multiple things, or just what I'm saying, very like versatile in that sense. So I guess to just kind of might not even be that a hot take or a cold take, but I just feel like I would not be mad if we ended up with Keegan Murray just falling into our lap, or an Ivy or a Mather that got a couple years under their belt and actually have worked on being able to score the basketball at a high clip. Good problem to have. I've said it, a couple mock drafts we did, or just a couple episodes we had prior. I think we're just in a good situation where we're not going, obviously who knows what could happen, but I think we can get one of those 3 guys to definitely be in good shape.
no,
So,
I second that.
yeah,
Let's just it's not necessarily the time to gamble.
right.
I think we go with something like I said last time around, which is the best available player. We need
Yeah,
somebody that we know will be a solid NBA guy.
yeah,
And would it suck to pass on him and then in 2 or 3 years he's John Morant? it would. But I think it would be that much worse to take him and then he's nothing.
All right.
So
We're in a spot where it's like, we already, people didn't like Killian. We had Siko, Dumbayu, didn't really do anything. I can go down the line of all the last few draft picks we have. I just don't think we really have the luxury of trying to get a guy that didn't even play at Kentucky. You know, it's very, he's got a crazy vertical, and I've heard, just like the athleticism and everything, but I just don't think we can afford to just try to take a wild card like that. Um, and I, like you said, if we got Keegan Murray and he was just like, the next Paul Pierce or something, and like, and Sharp was the next John Morant, like it. I just think that where we're at with things now, it's just safe pick, get the guy who won a Big Ten championship, or get the guy who won a Pac-12 championship. Get the guys that played in the Power Five conference at a high level and keep it pushing. And we'll count our losses if it doesn't work out with one of them guys. So, which I think they'll be fine.
wow. Yes.
Um,
So I know one way to build the team would be through the draft. That's more sure way. More of you control your destiny. It's on you to who you pick. Another way would be through free agency.
yeah.
Pistons in there with a pretty clear book. That's exciting to see when you look through there. So I know you targeted a couple players that regardless of the draft, I think will be beneficial to have on the team. They're good players. So who are some of the players that you are looking at that potentially we could pick up in free agency?
All right. So how I kind of did this. So first I looked at like our weaknesses. My weaknesses are Pistons weaknesses. And I feel like the two biggest weaknesses with the team was just like shooting and perimeter defense. I feel like those are the biggest issues that needed to be addressed come free agency or in the draft. So I have like three sections here. So I have kind of like two guys I just like, or three guys I really, really think would be a good fit. And then I'm kind of going to like, other people that I think would be good fillers as far as like role players or just, rotational guys. So my three I think would be like a perfect fit beside Cade would be Jalen Brunson. We talked about him quite a bit. Um, I do like, what I see as far as him kind of sitting next to Luka because he's already sitting. We see how he is next to Luka. I think that Cade is a similar player to Luka, and I think that would be a good puzzle piece. A guy that can get his own shot, slasher. Just great on offense. Only thing I do kind of worry about with him is his size. He's only like 6'2" or 6'3", playing like a two guard. That could be a problem as far as defense, but I do think he'd give him like a solid scoring punch and solid score just overall. Second guy that I think would be a good fit. He is kind of similar to Brunson. It'd be Colin Sexton. I like his game. I like just scoring guard, off ball type guy. Because like I said, even prior, I kind of envision Detroit kind of being like a Dallas or like a New Orleans. You got that point guard that does it all. Then you kind of bring like guys that are kind of like more score first mentality and kind of put them around him and just let him feed and kind of just let them drive and shoot and just kind of they just kind of come at you in waves. So I think Sexton would fit right in next to Cade. He can play point guard. Like he can play off ball as well. And then the other individual that I think would be a perfect fit, I know this one most likely won't happen, but Zach LaVine. Um, I've already heard that he's not really loving trying to play beside DeRozan. Their games are quite similar, so I can definitely see why that might be something that might be a little bit of an issue. Um, Heard him, maybe like a sign and trade with the Lakers. I mean, we always hear the Lakers are always going to be in the running to grab somebody some way or some capacity. But I do think that once again, just like a athletic slasher, can shoot the three. I think that'd be like him and Cade and Bay. I mean, I think that could be a very solid trio for a long time. And just kind of run through just who I think are as far as like rotational players or people like just good pieces that we could just potentially look at. So I'll just go through the shooters really quick. Bryn Forbes, Ben McLemore, Malik Monk, and Gary Harris. And these guys have all, made their money being spot up shooters, hitting the open three. I think the Pistons really need to prioritize getting one or two shooters addition, around Cade, replacing some more, some of those guys we have on our team now that are more just like, like defense first or just, athletic guys that are still trying to kind of find their own and, figure out their games. Our team is pretty young overall. So I think if they're able to bring in, some shooters, and those are some examples, some people that I think would, fit that mold. And they also been in the league for a little bit too. So I think that'd be a good veteran presence to bring to the locker room. I think that would help us out immensely. And then to go to the forwards, some of the guys that I, look at as far as potential fits. So you got Otto Porter Jr. playing right now for the Warriors. I just, big wing, can play defense, can hit the open three. Veteran presence, I think that's something to definitely keep in mind. Any of the Morris twins, they like to clang and bang. I'm all for that. Um, Still hate that we even got rid of Marcus Morris when he was playing for the Pistons a few years back. And then this one might have you chuckle a little bit, but Kyle Anderson, that was playing for the Spurs and playing for Memphis, call him Slow Mo. I just like he's versatile. He can come off the bench, play point, plays defense, glue guy. Like I look at him as somebody that's gonna he's one of those guys. He's gonna come in and just he's not gonna make your team bad. Like he's gonna help your team in some way, shape, or form. And then the last guy would be Bruce Brown, former Piston. We shipped him off. He's one of them picks that we let get away. Named like 4 or 5 of them that we've let that happen to. Just love how he's able to play, in that and like play with Brooklyn in the way that he did, and adapted. It can be easy, being like the 8th or ninth option on a team full of superstars. And I think he played that role to a T. So, wouldn't mind if they knocked on his door and tried to bring him back. But yeah, so these guys are just people that, I feel like would be solid fits. Hopefully we can snag, one or two of them. And I think if we can get, like I said, more shooting, and more just like perimeter defense, for the Pistons, I think we'll be in a good spot come next season.
Yeah. So just to highlight what you said, the three guys that are really stood out to me from that list would be Brent Forbes, a local kid, local man from Lansing, more or less playing in Detroit's backyard. So I think I love that idea. He's a champion. He gets freakishly hot from time to time.
Yeah.
So I really would like that somebody cut from that ilk on the squad. I'm not mad about that at all. Ben McLemore, a guy, just another sharpshooter. And then Bruce Brown. Like you said, hated to get rid of him, but he's more or less came to his own. He's not the same player that we got rid of, but he more or less came to his own. And like you said, all three of these guys, especially him, would be more 3 and D. So that kind of take care of both sides of the ball, like you said. And that's really, I think, what we're looking for. And the other two guys, I'm not mad at if we went out and got. I don't want to max out anybody. I want to keep them books pretty damn clean. And anybody that we give any amount of money to, I would purposely time it out to whenever we got to pay Cade. That's when that contract ends.
3-year deal, no more than that.
Yeah. I've said it before, but I think whenever Cade comes up, we have to structure the books where we have enough for 2 max. We can get Cade, and then you can go get whoever else you want. That's got to be how we need to plan this out long term, because that's, you see that Luka's making a run, or Ja Morant making a run, or Trae Young even a year or two ago, but realistically, all three of those guys and Cade as well are going to compete for championships 3, 4, 5 years from now. And so the decisions we make now could really affect that. Not to just single him out. I don't want to go get a Zach LaVine on a $190 million deal, and then in 4 years we're like, God damn, we got to pay this man $40 million, and he, his knee's been shot for 2.5 seasons. I don't. That's the type of thing I wanted to avoid. So I think keep him young, keep him contracts young, and more of that ilk. And I think we'll just be an exciting team, and then we can kind of pick. Okay, this is the squad, and Brent Forbes is staying with it, so we can go ahead and sign him a long-term deal. He really worked out. And then we begin to form around that. And side note, I think nobody's talking about, we already had a major free agent signing this year, and that's locking up Bagley.
Yeah.
So we've seen how well that worked for the post All-Star break. And it was fun to watch. So I think he was a bit rejuvenated, and it's exciting to see me. He was a top 5 pick when 3, 4, 5 years ago. So,
Yeah,
um,
recently.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's exciting to see as well.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree, and I could definitely, Zach Levine. That'd be more just like a. If that were to happen, it'd be like I'd be excited about it just because that we had like an all star put by Cade and just see how it works. But there is a money factor to where it's like what are you going to try to pay him? And I think even too looking a little closer at like Brunson and Sexton, especially Brunson. Brunson daddy came out and said like ain't no discount now. So it's going to be interesting to see what even.
100%. Oh, and I was gonna say my fault, and I know we got like less than a minute here, but side note on Brunson, the only other guard I've seen back down somebody as much it would be Chauncey Billups. Remember when he used to do that just to get the point guard in foul trouble? He's the only other guard I've seen do that consistently. Like
Mm-hmm.
4 times a game, he's putting you on his ass and backing down
Lives in the paint. I
like
love
open
it.
hand in the driveway. I do like
Yeah.
so. Somebody like him or Colin Sexton, I wouldn't be mad at
Yeah.
as mad, especially Colin Sexton. 'Cause I think that's
I like him a lot.
I know, just to rattle off, but we can throw him, and then let's say you throw in, Keegan Murray.
Yeah.
But that's a squad.
Brent off the bench and yeah, like I said, trying to get a couple of shooters here and there and just more.
Hey, 6 seed.
Yeah, get like a bully in there or something. You know what I'm saying? Just
What Spurs say? First seed.
right.
In the whole league.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, and I think we'll see. Obviously, a lot of this free agency stuff kind of depends on what happens in the draft. I wish that the free agency happened before the draft, like the NFL does. I think that'd be a lot more helpful for us to kind of be able to get solidified players. But I trust Weaver, so we'll see what happens. Grant most likely going to be on the move, in some capacity, and I know that'll kind of shake some stuff up too. But yeah, that was all I had on my end. You got anything?
That's all. We'll be back at you soon.
Till next time.